Hello there, this is Marcio Gali, and this is another episode of Coding with Agents, or the longer version, Culture Coding with Agents. So, what we have throughout the sessions, reflections from the life, the routine of a developer, a builder, a person that is recycling himself um, as we go through the agentic, AI agentic days, right? So, I'm hoping that this studio where you see this camera here, and also you see there's right the background there. So my plan is to keep updating the studio as we go, and as well to understand more about what's happening, what's changing, what's not changing at all, but looks like it's changing sometimes, right? But things are generally the same. All right. So I just caught myself in a situation here, okay? And basically it's something like this. So I have a project, and that's a technical project, okay? It's a tool that I'm developing, right? It helps me to do an accounting process for my clients, okay? So I have clients, they use the platform, it's a website making marketing platform there. And then I call this folder here, right? So there is a folder there. It's a directory in this computer, okay? It's called backbots, right? Those are just some tools. And as far as so now I know you out of the sudden I had to go back to there to this tool. But then one way that I see things now is that a directory in a computer for me now, it's like a meeting room, okay? It's like this space here, and that's been interesting, right? Because there is a meeting room and then the meeting room inside the meeting room. Because you see, if you are in your remote working location, right, and then you join a meeting room on the computer, well, you're right, you're teleported to that place, right? And many of the trouble, the problems that we have, we went through the remote days, right? In back in the 2000s, some people at least entered that space, and then we learned it and developed systems to help us do the remote work, right? And then after throughout the COVID days, we kind of supercharged it, I guess. I don't know that the remote experience, and then after COVID, right? Oh, let's go back to the office. That started like to appear in many ways, articles and thoughts about that. But then we know that some companies are really good in doing the remote way, right? And other companies are really good in they're writing these great articles about the interesting things that you can do in person office space, right? So it seems like you can always find, right, the good examples on either side. So then I was like, yeah, but there's so many other things here, right? So the real point is, it maybe it goes back to management. It's like you got to look at your situation. If you want to make that work, well, you're making things work with the tools you have, with the environment you have. That's the whole idea, right? The startup movement, or even the startup of you version, right? If you will. Um, so here I'm making a parallel between the startup situation that's, an enterprise trying to innovate, and the startup of you situation, which is a person trying to innovate as a person as well in the middle of others. It's all the same, right? You got to respect the tools you have, the environment you have, the situation you are at, that kind of thing, I guess, right? And now, so my point is directories in the computer, right? Just enter the room here. And when I enter, I'm using this tool. This is a shell, right? So see, it's a shell and it's a directory. I know that because if I type this command here, Explorer, because this is like Linux inside Windows, and I type Explorer, and I'm opening the I'm opening the Windows folder that shows this directory. Now, this is the meeting room, right? And this is like just remote work. Don't you think? Because even if I'm with a person next to me in person, let's say I am in an optimal in person high performance environment, right? Only everybody here works in person, but still we're using the tools online, right? You know, these tools are there; they're not in person, right? So it's a hybrid world already. But yeah, but maybe we do some things live, right? We're capturing the movements, the body movements, the things that you, right? You end up arranging something there that works, right? You're being able to observe the others working. There are always the hallways, conversations, right? And then if another company that's innovating with a 100% remote team, right? If they're innovating, they found their way, right? Life finds a way, right? As we have seen in the movie. All right. With that said, but this is the end of the episode, right? I was gonna enter coding or something, but who cares about the coding, right? Because this is culture coding with agents, right? And today's point is just that, and that's enough because I always say, right? But we know you gotta leave the party when things are okay before trouble comes your way. All right, so remember that this folder is not in person. This folder right here in front of me, that this miserable folder, right, that I can use as a Windows folder, or if I want, using the shell, the traditional Unix based terminal, it's a miserable folder and it's in front of me and it's not in person and that's remote to some extent. And it's a technical tool and there are technical details there. Right. Now, just to close the session, because where we're going, we don't need roads, right? Or maybe we should actually, because if you don't know where you're going, uh, I think that's that well the that saying is it's general, but the one that I really enjoyed was reading that from Andy Grove in the book High Output Management, where we're going, we don't need roads. Actually, the other version of that, which is he wrote that if you don't know where you're going, any road can take you there. And so, where are we going here? I guess, right? Because I don't know 100%. That's the idea for the reflections from the routine. Um, See that same folder, this visual code right here, right? It's the folder on the left hand side. Now I'm visualizing. See, you can visualize as a Windows. You can visualize from the terminal view. That's the same thing. Or I can visualize using Visual Code. Those are three different perspectives, right, about how to look at this folder. And then the to contextualize the situation I had there, check it out. In this box, in this meeting room, I had things like this room around, many things. You see like objects on the left hand side, right? Objects there. And it looks like, those are like objects. Imagine like shoes and I don't know, a refrigerator there and things there. But then I had the folder inside, right? So what's a folder inside the folder? It's like a room inside the room. It's a box, right? Maybe it's a cabinet. All right. This adds folder. It's not related at all with these things that I found here, right? Inside the room. So it's almost like you have shoes and books and things. But most of these things that I see, they kind of relate to an area of a project. But the ads is not. Ad seems to be organized inside the box. And today with agents, right, next to me, so what I did was this, right? I I I I, I went here and I said, "Hey, buddy," right? That kind of thing. Could you do an analysis there? It looks like the ads directory that exists in this directory. It's a self-contained project, right? Okay, John, don't go further. I was using the keyboard via voice. I meant to say, okay, buddy, don't invest too much. It's a brief analysis, right? From what you look from above, what do you think? And then it end up doing a little bit more than I wanted. But then it confirmed it to me, right? Inside ads, you effectively have a separated mini project with its own package JS, lock something JS, etc. Doesn't really matter. Um, don't worry about that. And then that's something I wanted to know because I didn't know. It's been like a month or more that I don't enter this room. And then I entered the room like things on the floor, and these things seems to be related. There's a box there. What's that box? I didn't know that box was an entire different room, an entire different project. And then what I was gonna do here, it doesn't really matter when I'm gonna do that, but at least it's a to do to myself is all right. So can you do the analysis for these things that we have in this, here on the floor, and tell me if these things are self-contained as part of one project? And then if I realize that the things here are it's related with one project and the ads directory is another project, what I wanted to do is put all these things in a box, right, and move to whatever is the name of that embodies these things, right? So you see, that's working with an agent as a chief operations officer, organizing what I see in this room. And this is management to some extent, right? This is management of the folder. But see, the entity, there is an entity, right? There is a concept of an entity here associated with my folder. Or at least I invited the coworker to this room and asked help there, right? And we're doing something. We're optimizing the room, I guess. And that's it. And thank you very much because this is enough for now, I guess.